This is part 87 of ASP.NET MVC tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss obtrusive and unobtrusive JavaScript. If you have been following along with this ASP.NET MVC tutorial, to enable client-side validation in an ASP.NET MVC application, we need to turn on two keys within the web.config file. We need to set client validation enabled to true and unobtrusive JavaScript enabled to true. So first, let's understand what we mean by unobtrusive JavaScript. First, let's look at an example that uses obtrusive JavaScript, and we'll see how to convert that obtrusive JavaScript to an unobtrusive JavaScript. When we navigate to this edit view, notice that we have a save button here. Now let's say, for example, when I move my mouse over this save button, I want to change the background color of the button to red, and when I move the mouse away from that button, we want the color to be gray. Let's see how to achieve that using obtrusive JavaScript. So let's flip to Visual Studio. Let's open up this edit view, and then we are going to write some JavaScript code. So let's include a script tag, set the type equals text / JavaScript and language to JavaScript. So we are going to write some JavaScript here. So I'm going to write a function. You can give it any meaningful function name. I'm going to call this mouse over, and then to this function I'm going to pass a control ID. So what is this function going to do? It's going to find the control which has got that ID. And to find that control, I'm going to use this method getElementById, and I'm going to pass it the control ID. And obviously, this getElementById function is going to return a reference for that control. So I'm going to store that in a variable called maybe control. And what we need to do here is to set the background attribute, background color for the control. So control.style.background color equals, let's say for example I want to set it to red color. Okay, similarly I'm going to have another function, and let's call this maybe mouse out, and let's set the color to gray. Alright, the next step is to invoke these functions. So let's navigate to the submit button on mouse over. So when that event happens, what do we want to do? We want to invoke our mouse over function. So let's copy the name mouse over, and we need to pass the ID of the control. Okay, so let's invoke this function here. So we need to pass the ID of this control. So let's include an ID. Maybe let's call this btn submit, and let's pass this ID to this function. And similarly on mouse out, when this event happens, we want to invoke our mouse out function. So let me copy this, and let's change the name of the function to mouse out. Alright, let's save everything. Let's go back to our edit view and reload this. Alright, look at this. When I mouse over, we have the red color. As I move away, we have gray color. But then the JavaScript that is present here is obtrusive JavaScript. Look at this. This JavaScript code is now intermingled with the HTML markup that we have. So the structure of our website, the HTML markup and the behavior, both of them are intermingled. Let's see how to convert this obtrusive JavaScript into an unobtrusive JavaScript. Okay, first of all, the first step is to add a JavaScript file. So let's add a new item. Let's add a JScript file, and let's call this maybe custom JavaScript. You can give it any meaningful name you want. And then within this JavaScript code, JavaScript file, we are going to write some JavaScript code. We're going to convert this JavaScript code, this obtrusive JavaScript, into unobtrusive JavaScript, and we're going to make use of jQuery for that purpose. Okay, so we're going to write some jQuery code here. So let me drag and drop this jQuery file. Alright, so dollar function. So what do we want to do? We want to find a control that has got an ID of btn submit. Okay, in jQuery the ID selector is pound symbol, so let's include the pound symbol, and the ID of the control is btn submit. So find that control, and then once you find that control, mouse over. So when this event occurs, what we want to do, we want to execute another function. Okay, so what do we want to do basically? We want to change the background color of this button. So button submit dot, I am going to use CSS function for that, and we can specify any CSS property style that we want. For example, I want to change here background color. So background color, I want to set that to red. Okay, so let's make a copy of this one. Similarly, when mouse out event happens, what do we want to do? We want to change the background color to gray. Okay, so we have included some JavaScript code here, jQuery code basically, that's present in an external file right now. Look at that, we have separated the JavaScript. Okay, so obviously, find this control, and then when mouse over event happens, change the background color to red. And similarly for this control, when mouse out event happens, change the background color to gray. Okay, so the behavior is present in this JavaScript file now. Alright, now the next step is to actually reference this JavaScript file within our edit view. So let's go back to the edit view and then drag and drop this custom JavaScript file, and let's change this to use the tilde syntax. So tilde indicates the root directory of the project. Within the root directory we have scripts folder, and then we have custom JavaScript, and that's what this path says. Alright, so since we have the JavaScript code now present in a separate file, we can get rid of this JavaScript code that's present within the view. So let's go ahead and delete this, and we can also delete whatever code we have here. Look at this, here we are hooking up the function with its event. We can get rid of this as well. Alright, so let's save this. Let's go back to our view and reload this, and the behavior should be the same. On mouse over, red color; on mouse out, we have gray color. But then look at this, on our view now we don't have any traces of JavaScript. It's clean HTML markup. All our JavaScript now is present in a separate JavaScript file. So what is unobtrusive JavaScript? Unobtrusive JavaScript is a JavaScript that's present from that is separated from the website's HTML markup. So this unobtrusive JavaScript resides in its own file. So basically we are separating the structure of our website from its behavior. The HTML markup is present in your view. The JavaScript, which represents the client-side behavior, is present in a separate file. And what are the advantages of using unobtrusive JavaScript? There are several of them. The first one is obviously separations of concerns. That is, the HTML markup now is clean without any traces of JavaScript on that view. Obviously this means page loads faster. It is also easy to update the JavaScript code, as all the JavaScript logic is now present in a separate file. And we also get better caching support, because all the JavaScript is present in a separate file, which can be cached and accessed much faster. On this slide you can find a link to YouTube playlist where you can find C#, ADO.NET, ASP.NET, SQL Server, and MVC playlists. In these playlists, all the videos are arranged in a logical sequence, which could be useful to you. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.